Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Private Investigator Advice Podcast. This is the news edition. This is episode 49.
This is a PI Advice Podcast.
Yeah, boy.
Oh yeah, what is going on? Episode 49. You know what the sad thing is 50, the next one. You know what? I'm not even ready for it. That's the sad thing. You know, you think I'd be like, oh, I'll make this huge production. I got nothing. Maybe Tech Tuesday. Maybe Tech Tuesday will be episode 50. I don't know what I'm feeling. I don't know. Anyway, so I hope you guys are having a good week. It's been a little quiet out there. You know, emails here and there. Not a flood, but it's been good. It's been good. I got a email from Ray for a news story that I'm going to go ahead and talk about today, and then talk about another one that kind of a news story. It's more I just want to tell you about it, so we'll make it news. But anyways, hope everybody's doing good. I have been plugging along, just do what you got to do, right? That's what we do. I don't have some fancy business. I'm not some empire. It's just me, just plugging along like every other investigator out there trying to make a living. If this is the first time you've listened to this show, I would, this is probably I probably sound better now than I did 47 or 8 episodes ago, but there's still some really good stuff back there if you're interested in it. About the investigation industry, what it's all about, why you shouldn't be one. If you want to be one, keep listening and it gets better. But if you're just trying to figure out if you want to be in this industry, go back to podcast number 1 and check that out and just work your way up. And then, cherry pick whatever topics you like and go on from there. I got a blog at the Private Investigator Advice HQ.com. I know it's a really long URL, but just go ahead and type in Private Investigator Advice into Google and you'll find it. I also got some videos. You can go to YouTube and just plug in PI Advice, and we've got reviews of spy cams and instructions and my thoughts on this and that. And, it's just it's an evolution. I'm just going to keep adding to it year after year, and this ginormous empire of videos will be there for you guys forever, hopefully, as long as Google stays in business. Anyways, to get into the news, I only got a few stories here. I'm not gonna just go on and on. I probably could, but I just thought these were kind of interesting. So the first one, it was titled "Private Investigator Believes Foul Play Was Involved in a Mysterious Death of a Texas Man." So the family of a Texas man was hired, or has hired a private investigator to look into the mysterious death of a guy named Alfred Wright, who was 28 years of age, and was last seen November 7th, 2013. He went missing after reporting to a family member that his truck broke down, and then 19 days later, he was found dead. I think he was found dead in the woods. And it was also in an area that the police had already checked. Let me get some coffee here. And I know you want to hear me slurp, right? All right. Anyways, so the police chalked this guy's death up to a drug overdose because I guess there was drugs in his system. But then when they hired the private investigator, the investigator said, well, they never interviewed the family. They never searched his truck. This is the private investigator talking to ABC News. They didn't do their due diligence. He said some of the things that really bugged him were that the body was found in an unnatural position. Wright was the guy who died was an individual not to do drugs. He was found unclothed in the woods, and the authorities ruled out a homicide before the body was even found, which was really weird. So a second autopsy determined that Wright sustained serious and gruesome injuries, which suggested foul play, and which contradicts the original autopsy probably performed by the police. I'm going to keep an eye on this. I'm kind of curious how this is going. It almost sounds like this is out of a television show, like someone's trying to cover something up, and I know that might be very far-reaching, and because I haven't seen any articles. I mean, they might be out there. I haven't actually looked for them yet, but I'm going to try to find them regarding this. It just sounds a little suspicious, and you can't assume that just because, police are investigating something that it's always, I mean, we're all human, right? I mean, people are going to make mistakes and then, you're going to have just like you're going to have the crappy investigator out there, you might have that crappy investigator in the police force that, might not be doing his job right. And luckily, there's other people out there that we can check each other. This happens all the time. So it's nothing new. This kind of stuff happens. This is just very interesting that it's kind of unfolding this way. So, let's keep an eye on this. I'll post a link to where I found this article in there, and we'll go from there. Another one that I thought was interesting was Nevada gets sued by a private investigator. So, according to Bloomberg Businessweek, an article written by Patrick Clark, Nevada recently passed a law requiring private investigators to have a physical business location in the state to conduct business in the state. Now, this is. And I used to do a lot of work in Nevada. Not like every day, but it used to be like once every couple months I'd end up getting a case. And this is what I worked in California, and this was insurance fraud stuff. And they'd send me out there, and it's kind of foggy on this because this is many, many, many years ago. But I almost believe that there was no licensing in Nevada at the time. And if there was, and maybe it was a no-no on it wasn't a no-no on the company I was working for, but. And then I think it turned into something like certain counties you had to be licensed in, something like that. Well, apparently things have changed, and now you have to have a physical business in there. So this is nothing new. I know I'm almost certain that New Mexico does the same exact thing, which is really tough for these nationwide companies to do business when they're trying to cover all these states because they have to figure out how to get a physical location in there. It's expensive, especially when you don't see a lot of work in a certain state or it's sporadic. You might get 2 or 3 cases with these big companies. So they don't want to spend the money on a physical location if they don't have to, right? But everybody's always trying to find a loophole. Anyways, we'll keep on going on the story here. So this private investigator is a retired police detective named Troy Castillo. He doesn't agree with the law. And he also believes that the law violates constitutional doctrines preventing states from discriminating out-of-state companies and individuals from doing business within the state. He may have a point there. I don't know. He might be a smarter guy than I. Probably is. Anyways, he also argues that it can kind of mess up some other professions like a genealogist, reporters, teachers, or anyone else looking for information in the state of Nevada. So if a reporter from out of state comes in, do they have to have a physical business in there? Is that required as well? I don't know. So anyways, Costello only lives a couple hours from the state line. And, he believes the primary reason for this law is that it's out there protecting the existing businesses there from, from outside businesses undercutting these existing businesses in there, existing private investigation businesses. He says he spends 95% of his time either working from his home or in the field. So he's probably like every other investigator out there that does surveillance. I'm assuming he does a little bit of surveillance, or if he's out there checking court records, and he's still got to be out there, right? He's got a point. I mean, I can see how states want to protect their own, but at the same time, when you got smaller businesses like this guy, who might make 10% of his living by getting information from Nevada, it's kind of hard to argue. I mean, I don't know. Both sides probably have a point on this. I can certainly see his side, and I can certainly see the state side, and the stakeholders within the state. But I don't know. I think there's some kind of unfair rules there. I don't know. Maybe you guys might have an opinion on this blog or a comment on the blog article that I put in the Private Investigator Advice website there. Another one here. This was given to me by Ray. Ray says, "Hey, I saw a background check on this article. Check this out." And very cool that he'd send me that, because I've been asking, hey, if you guys got cool articles, send me. This passed the sniff test. So here's something interesting here. The FBI well, this is the title I think they had here. The FBI balks at background checks for pot businesses. Now, if you recall, Washington and Colorado recently passed this. I don't know. It's not illegal to smoke marijuana, and they have restrictions. I don't smoke it, so I don't know all the ins and outs of this law. But one of the ins and outs of it, apparently, is that in Washington, you need an FBI to do the background check nationwide for whoever applies for a license, I guess, to grow in the state of Washington. So what it says in the article, it was from the Seattle Times, if I recall correctly here. The FBI is refusing to run background checks on those applying to run legal marijuana businesses in the state of Washington. So this might be actually as a vendor as well. Interestingly enough, the FBI has conducted nationwide checks for Colorado. So I don't know for sure how that's going in Colorado. And I think there's some loophole. The reason why they're doing it, I'm not quite sure. You'll have to read it for yourself here. But so long story short, they're hooking up Colorado with these nationwide background checks, and they're dissing Washington. And so Washington State receives has received about 7,000 applications to grow marijuana in the state. But the Washington can't vet these people because they need the FBI to do a nationwide background check. And the federal government will not do these. So apparently this is what their thoughts are on this is basically that they're trying to see. Well, they're not going to help them because I guess Colorado and Washington are undermining the federal law that basically you can't do drugs and you can't sell drugs, and basically that's what Washington legalized. So it would kind of undermine the federal law if they're backing it up and going, okay, yeah, we'll do these background checks for you. And I also think they're waiting to do a little bit of I told you so, like drugs are bad, okay? And so they don't want you to, they probably want to see some negative outcome from legalizing it. And they can't, they're probably helping that along by not helping them vet these people. Anyways, check that out. There'll be a link to that in the show notes. And let's see here. The last one here. I've been waiting to talk about this. Now this has happened a couple weeks ago. Who was it that told me? Did I write that down? I want to say Floyd. Might have been Floyd. So Floyd emails me and says, "Hey, dude, there's some dudes talking about you." And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "Yeah, they're talking about this article you wrote." And I'm like, well, "Okay, what one?" And he's like, "About the Colorado licensing bill that's going through or whatever." And I wrote that a while ago. I think I wrote that like a month and a half ago or something. I'm like, well, who was talking about it? So he sends me a link to this Colorado blogger, and I almost don't even want to send you the link because then he'll get some link juice from me, and I don't think he deserves it personally. Anyway, so this is what happened. So this Colorado blogger, who's relatively new, he's been blogging for like 3 months, right? Supposedly he's a licensed private investigator, though I think in one of his blogs he admits that he barely does any work now, even though he's licensed. But in all his blogs, not including the one he wrote about me, he just gripes and, excuse my French, bitches about all these other people. Just constantly complaining. He's not, in my opinion, he's not adding any value other than just griping. That's all I hear him doing or was reading him do. Anyway, so he's an unnamed blogger. He doesn't identify himself. He doesn't want to say, "Hi, my name's Joe, and I'm a private investigator in Colorado." He just says, "I'm everything." He doesn't identify himself. Although I'm sure if we really wanted to, we could figure out who he is. So he writes and he says, so he starts to disagree with some of the things I say. And then he agrees with like more than half of it, right? So basically, if you guys don't remember, I wrote this blog basically saying Colorado licensing bill, whatever, the reason I think it's bad for new private investigators. And my main I guess, problem with the bill that they were trying to pass was it gave different levels to private investigator licensed businesses. So if if Joe, who's been unlicensed in Colorado for 5 years and has been working unlicensed, they did this license thing, he would get a level 2 license, right? And he would say, Joe has 5 years experience as a private investigator. But the new guy who wants to get in and start his own business would get a level 1 license. Now, he could be licensed. He would have, I think he'd have to take a test, and he could be licensed, but he would have a level 1 license. And that's what really bothered me, because what I envisioned happening was level 2 guy would get all this kind of like cred, like the street cred, when he was, talking to clients, and the level 1 guy wouldn't stand a chance. I mean, he would be getting, he wouldn't get any, or wouldn't have a chance of getting the same or showing the same value as investigator number 2 with the level 2. So it was just, from my perspective, I'm not in Colorado, but just looking at the writing on the wall, I could clearly see that the hometown guys put their stuff in there saying, hey, we're going to protect our own. And the old guys that have been here for a while working, and all these new guys are going to, basically would get screwed. And I didn't care for that. I mean, obviously, what am I here for? I'm doing this for 2 years. I'm writing about private investigators, trying to help you guys get into the industry, give you advice, whatnot. And to see that, I took offense to it. I was like, no, that's crap. That's not fair. Because a new guy coming in could do something better than an old guy that's been in the industry for a long time. Just because they've been in there doesn't mean they're better at certain things. That's just nonsense. And so that was my beef. And I also had said something to the effect of, and I believe that the original voluntary licensing that they did a couple of years ago was essentially a way, to eventually really push hard for the mandatory licensing. And he didn't agree with that. He's like, you're not here. You don't know what's going on. Well, here's the thing. He at the very end, he says something to the effect of, mind your own business and worry about your stuff in Washington and let us worry about our stuff in Colorado. But here's the thing, unnamed blogger, and this is news. Everybody has a stake in Colorado, what's happening in Colorado. I might not have a license there now, but maybe someday I do. So that makes me a stakeholder. And anybody who wants to be a private investigator anytime is a stakeholder, potentially. Not just the people that are private investigators now, or not just the people that live in Colorado. Everybody's a potential stakeholder, especially if we want to be licensed in more than one state. So this nonsense, this griping, you getting butthurt about the fact that I have an opinion. Anybody can have an opinion on anything. And just like I was basically sticking up for my listeners and my readers, and I guess I'm talking to them right now, aren't I? Let me get all serious. And I'm protecting my readers and the people that listen and the people that want to learn and get into this industry. They could be in Colorado right now, and they might not understand what's happening. And so that's why I said what I said. And so anyways, I just picture him as being this grouchy old butthurt private investigator, just pointing his finger and griping about everything. Dude, you know what? Make a difference, Try to help the new guys here. Provide some advice. You've been an investigator for a long time. Help the new guys out. These old guys, they don't need it. The new guys do. Anyways, I didn't want to give him that much credit because honestly, it didn't really bother me. But just the fact that he's basically saying that no one could have an opinion, that's nonsense. Come on. Everybody can have an opinion. People have an opinion about my podcast, about my blog. They can have it. It's okay. This is not for everybody. You know what I mean? So... wow, I think I feel good. I feel good. I'm glad I got to share that with you. You know what I'll do, guys, is I will put the link to this guy's blog in my show notes, but I'm not going to link to it. So you'll have to copy the link and paste it into your URL. I don't want to give the guy the benefit of mentioning him on here, with some kind of, I'm sorry. And the last thing that this gentleman said was the reason he thought that I wrote about it was because I was going to get some kind of search engine optimization benefit from it. But I'm sorry, like I said, people can have opinions on things. Just because I'm not in your state, I can still have an opinion. Okay, I think I've griped enough. You guys got to hear about it and got to hear my perspective on that. And I got to hear a couple news articles. And I hope you enjoyed. I hope you guys are, the sun's coming out. We had the sun come out today in Washington. It was very weird. Very weird. I broke a sweat. I was sweating. I think I might have gotten a little bit of, if you guys watch the video, I'm a little red. It's weird. But anyways, I'm glad because we got to get used to that again. We're going to have a little bit of summer coming up. And that means in most cases, work gets a little busier when it gets a little warmer. So I hope it's getting busier for you as well. And let's see here. Let me get this loud bing, as always. I'm going to get you guys a little outro music. If you guys have news articles, tech news articles, if you guys have topics, there's still stuff I got to do. I know I'm not full-time blogger, not full-time podcaster, but I'm always thinking about stuff. I want to keep you guys informed, entertained, and enthusiastic. And so it'll eventually happen. Whatever. Like a gentleman asked me about some camera stuff that I want to talk about soon, and I've got some blogs here that I'm procrastinating on, but they're written. They just need to be plugged in. So you guys, here we go. Let me get the music on here.
Yeah, boy.
Yeah, boy. All right, guys. I'm gonna do some. I don't know. I'm gonna do another podcast here. I don't know what I'm gonna do. You guys have a great. It'll be Tuesday when you hear this, so don't worry. Tech Tuesday is still coming out on Tuesday, sometime Tuesday. Alrighty? I'll see you guys later.